Hello, hello. Welcome back to Loki's Librarian. I am the librarian Katrina. If you are new here, welcome. Nice to meet you. This is where I am reading through my enormous library of books you see on the wall behind me and off to the side and downstairs. It's kind of all over my house. My husband thinks I should stop referring to the house as a bookstore. I think he's wrong. But anyways, I will read through my books, give you a synopsis, and then kind of tell you what I think of them. And in keeping with this month's general theme of October spookiness, this week's book of the week is, turn my wrist the wrong way, Haunted Old West by Matthew P. Mayo. Phantom Cowboys, Spirit-Filled Saloons, Mystical Mine Camps, and Spectral Indians. So he kind of covers a whole lot of everything. Basically, if it's west of the Mississippi, he's going to touch on it in this book. Not all of it. It's not all-inclusive. I mean, for example, I live in Reno, and so he touches on Virginia City. Not surprising. I know where Virginia City is. I've been there. But none of the spooks and haunts that I am familiar with from Virginia City are in this book. What is in this book is the bandit ghoul of 6 Mile Canyon, who I've never heard of before, which isn't surprising, actually. If you read through the story, the ghoul only goes after those who are hunting for his stolen loot. He used to own a business up there with like a side gig as a bandit, and he would still like rob stagecoaches and stuff. Well, eventually he did get caught, served some time in jail. When he got out, he took back to his old ways, because people don't learn. Nothing changes in hundreds of years. People don't learn. He went back to his stealing ways and was shot during the commission of a robbery. And so now he's said to haunt 6 Mile Canyon, which is the backside of Virginia City. Now, I've driven 6 Mile Canyon before, but I've never been stopped by the ghoul, which is not surprising, because apparently he only goes after those who are hunting for his stolen loot. I've never been out to 6 Mile Canyon, gone off-road with a metal detector, so clearly I am not a threat to whatever it is he's trying to protect. So, never heard of him, but why would I? I'm not a thief. And also, there are a surprising number of people who think it's okay to steal from the dead. I have never been to Bodie, California. I have driven past it for my day job. It's about 3 hours drive from where I'm at, and my job has, weirdly enough, driven me right past it. But I've never had to go there. It's a ghost town. Why would you go to a ghost town? The day job does not require me to go to haunted locations, which is kind of sad. Kind of wish it would. That would be a cool job. If you do visit Bodie, the dead like their stuff exactly where they left it. Apparently, the park rangers at Bodie receive a lot of mail from people asking the rangers to return X item to X location because the thief has had nothing but bad luck since they took it. Damn it, there I go touching my face again. My face is itchy. It itches. Maybe it's the makeup I'm using. I bet it's the makeup I'm using. I'm trying to come up with something I can do with my hands so that I'm not touching my face during the videos. I think it's distracting. Plus, it hurts my nose, it itches. I don't want people to think, oh, she's picking her nose, I'm going to try and stop touching my face now. Hair is okay. Face, I'm going to try and keep my hands off my face. Anyways, a lot of people steal from the dead. Apparently in Bodie, they just follow you back home and make your life hell until you return it. The spirits of the Anasazi at the Anasazi Cliff Dwellings in Colorado, which I'm really sad I didn't find this book a couple of years ago because I was regularly going TDY to Colorado, and there are a lot of places that would have been a fairly easy drive from where I was at in Colorado. I mean, the locations he talks about in Wyoming and Colorado, I could maybe Utah, but I could have gotten to them, but now I'm not going there. Maybe even Nebraska. Anyways, the back to the Anasazi. They won't even let you leave with whatever it is you tried to steal. And I don't mean the park rangers. I mean the spirits will stop you dead. Pun emphatically intended on that one. And then basically rat you out to the rangers on site. I'm like, wow. And it's technically a crime, I think, to steal from these parks because it falls under federal jurisdiction, so theft would be a crime. So, yeah. Okay. I think the most intriguing one, though, is the one spot that no one can visit. And I mean that literally. The author includes an interesting tale from cattle ranches of Wyoming. 2 ranchers got lost in a blizzard in Park County, Wyoming in the 19th century. And out of nowhere, they found this random building. And they were literally on the point of freezing to death. And they found this building that seemed to be an abandoned saloon in the middle of the range where there was no business being a saloon. So they went in and started breaking up the furniture left behind for firewood so they wouldn't freeze to death overnight in the middle of this blizzard. And all through the night, they heard what sounded like a party in the saloon going on. And basically, they sat back to back in front of the fireplace, looking out, couldn't see anything, but they could hear this wild night at a saloon going on. And of course, the next day they got up, the blizzard had abated, and they ran like hell. And legend has it that they turned in their resignation and left Park County, Wyoming. Like, they were like, we're out, we're not doing this again, we're not going to be anywhere on the ranges in Wyoming ever again, because fuck that saloon, I don't want to do that again. And apparently the only way to visit this location is to become so lost in a blizzard that you are on the point of death. So it sounds like that's a tricky spot to get to if you're ghost hunting. I don't think near death is really a good way to go about it myself. Everything else is pretty doable as like a long road trip. I mean, he includes an index at the back of the book with websites for each location and or other pertinent contact information. And this was just a fun read. It was basically a series of vignettes, and it's slightly formulaic, but it's not a bad thing given the nature of the material in here. He talks about, this is the location, this is why it's said to be haunted, this is what happened there that would make that seem so, and these are the experiences that people have had at this location. It sounds like fun. It sounds like, this is not a very long video because it wasn't a very long book. It's just a little over 200 pages. Yeah, it's a little over 200 pages, like 219 pages, and then he has additional resources in back, and then, like I said, websites for every place that's mentioned in here. Oh, that's something else I learned about Tommyknockers. So I am not a Stephen King fan. I find his writing is really disappointing and tends to leave me hanging, and I gave up on him decades ago because I thought he was just I just think he's a hack. I'm sorry. I know he's a multi-million-dollar author, and I have a tiny, tiny, tiny little booktube channel, and that's fine. But I think he's a hack, so I don't like Stephen King. But Tommyknockers, never heard it. Well, the only way I'd heard of them before is because of a Stephen King book, which I haven't read, so I don't even know what the subject of that book was. But apparently Tommyknockers are they're a Welsh myth. They're little men who live in the mines, and the Tommyknockers wreak havoc with the miners, man. I mean, people died doing that. This is the Mayo mine in Cripple Creek, Colorado, at Raven Hill. Apparently, they killed men there, and of course, the men then their spirits become trapped, and that's just awful. That's an awful way to go. Bodie, the town in California that's about a 3-hour drive from me. I feel like I need to go there, although I won't steal from the dead because I'm not a scumbag. But apparently it was known as the Sink Pit of Sin and Damnation. Isn't that a fun name? I'm a little jealous of that name. What else do we have? We talks about Tombstone, Arizona. That's a big one. I've actually been to Tombstone, but I was 6 at the time, so I don't think that quite counts. I need to go back. Talks about the ghost bride of Golden North. She was a gal who went up following her fiance to the gold fields in Alaska and ended up dying of consumption before he ever came back for her. Talks about Yuma Prison. Apparently some of these places ghost hunters have tried to stay the night in and left well before the night was up. Little Bighorn, that one I've heard from multiple people well before reading this book of it's haunted, which makes sense. I mean, that was a horrifying. It was horrifying on multiple levels. I mean, obviously that's where Custer's last stand was, but that's Native Americans died there too. It wasn't just Custer's men who died. It talks about Reno's Crossing. Of course, the Winchester Mansion is mentioned in here. No book would be complete without mentioning Sarah Winchester and her always increasing mansion. Pike Place ghosts. Talks about apparently some shady shit that went down in Texas, and I'm not just talking about the Alamo, although the Alamo as a haunted location is mentioned in here also, but the cattle wars of the ranges. I vaguely remember this in relation to not Billy Idol. Billy Idol's a musician, dipshit. Billy the Kid. Billy the Kid, he was involved in sort of the ranch wars in New Mexico, I think, but it was apparently really bad in Texas too. I don't know much about it, but this cattle herd was trying to come through an area, and this guy had set up his own kind of scratch turf where he was trying to start his own ranch, told them to go around, and they just drove the herd right over his family, like trampled them to death with the herd. And that's a pretty awful way to die, being stampeded by a head of cattle. They had another one where basically the cattle drive was coming through. They have this pasture that was a usual place where they would sit, and there was somebody else there, and they were like, hey, move on. And because apparently y'all can't just keep your cows together. I mean, I know you branded them, so you wouldn't think it'd be that hard to share, but whatever. The guy that was there ahead of them decided he was going to create a stampede in the night, and they got lost like half their herd of cattle going over a cliff and a couple of men. So they, in turn, tied that guy to his donkey. Poor donkey. What'd the donkey do? But the donkey got driven over the cliff, too. And all these places are really haunted, according to the book. And I mean, I have no reason to disbelieve them, but I'm, a believer in spirits. If you are, then you'll be like, ooh, this is a cool book. Maybe I should get that and see what's near me if you're, west of the Mississippi. And if you're not a believer, then maybe you want to buy the book and go and just prove it, Anyways, this was a fun one. I quite enjoyed it. It was a quick read. I think I read it in 2 days, and that's fine because that gives me time to read. I spent the remainder of the time catching up on my fictional reading, and I got like 5 books read that were not this big book. Yeah, I did. I got my Monster Hunter Bloodlines read. And then my dad introduced me to a new author, Blake Crouch. So I read his book, Abandon, and then his Wayward Pines trilogies. Yeah, I read 5 books, 6 books this week with Haunted Old West. And that's it for this week. So thank you all for watching. It was quick. I think next week's book is also going to be fairly quick. And then we'll be jumping back into the Presidents and back into more serious writing. I'm not excited for November, but we'll get to November when it gets here. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you guys next week. Bye.